Are you ready to do it again?
I'm ready.
It's time for
The Horror Guys.
Yay!
I'm Kevin,
I'm Brian.
and we're going to talk at the same time today.
Yes.
Yeah, over each other. We're going to talk about some movies. We saw some movies this week.
5 horror movies and some shorts.
Some
just
old.
like always.
Some old, some new, a mix. Some good, some meh. We'll tell you about them. We'll give our opinions. We'll give you a little spoilery, not spoilery synopsis. And
Well, here's my spoilery thing. There's only one movie this week that I actually liked.
Okay.
Well, there were a couple that weren't bad, but there's only one that I'd really recommend.
Well, there's one that I would strongly recommend, and 2 that I liked, and another that was not bad, and one that was kind of dull.
Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out which ones are which.
We'll clarify which are which, yeah.
And Horror Monthly, our monthly review magazine, is up to issue 38. It's available right now. It's the biggest one ever. It's got a short story in it from Kevin himself.
What? Kevin writes short stories?
He did.
He does.
It's called Hunger.
Mm-hmm. What are they hungry for?
Well, you'll have to find out.
Yeah.
And it's got 54 reviews, which is easily our biggest month ever.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween is a busy month for horror movies.
All right, and you can go over to horrormonthly.com and find links there to buy it from wherever it is you like to buy your books. Paperback or ebook. It's thick. It's quite a bit larger than usual.
It's THICK and THICC.
It's got both.
Both kinds of thick. Yep.
Big in the front and in the back.
Wow.
It's a book.
It is.
Well, anyway, we got movies for you this week. What do we got?
Well, we got The Black Cab, which is a brand new one. It's kind of a creepy ghost story kind of thing. And then we got Carved, which was a mighty silly one and very Halloween-y.
Yes.
We're running late on that one. That one's definitely a Halloween movie.
I don't know if that even came out before Halloween.
Through and through. Yeah, they missed an opportunity because that is so Halloween. And Curse of the Sin Eater, which makes us wonder, would you take the deal or not? And kind of an oldie from 1981, The Funhouse. And we got some shorts.
You missed the dating horror stories.
Oh, the dating horror stories, yes, an indie anthology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 4 shorts. Most of the shorts are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's start off with Black Cab. Directed by Bruce Goodison, written by Virginia Gilbert, stars George Bukhari, who's got a very small role. I don't know why he comes first. Nick Frost and Sonove Carlson. Hour and 27 minutes. Trailer in the show notes.
Nick Frost is usually a funny guy.
Not this time.
He's not so funny in this one.
Well, this has an interesting beginning. It's kind of a slog when things start to happen. And a pretty decent finish. The look of it's pretty good, and Nick Frost is great. They also mashed up a couple of horror trope ideas which tried to make things interesting, but kind of failed at it a little bit. We didn't hate it, but we were bored through too much of it.
I think Nick Frost's performance, I think
he was the only good thing about this movie.
He's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And he saved it.
No, he didn't save it. He made it bearable.
Okay. It would have been intolerable without him, I think. Yeah.
All right. Well, give us a taste. Again, we're not going to spoil these for you.
Just a little taste. We open on a woman in white walking through the woods as the credits roll, and we see her in a car, and she appears to be pregnant.
And she looks like a ghost in these scenes. It's all very washed out and blurry, and I'm like, oh, this is a ghost.
And she sees ghosts.
It's not a ghost. It's just weird. It's just an effect.
But she sees ghosts, yeah. Well, then Anne wakes up in bed. That was all just a nightmare. Patrick calls, and she's annoyed with him, breaks up with him, and hangs up on him. But then they're out to dinner. We cut to Anne, Patrick, and their 2 friends, Ryan and Jessica, having dinner out.
And at this point, I was confused. She just broke up with the guy, and here she is having dinner with them. Is this a prequel? Did this happen first? Did they get back together? What happened here? And it's not immediately clear. That eventually gets cleared up, but it was just a little confusing there for a minute or two as to when this took place. So what? Okay, they're having dinner. Then what?
Well, Patrick tells a scary story, and they all get a jump scare from the waiter. Patrick announces that he's getting married to Anne. And Anne's kind of like, what? Yeah.
For she's heard about it.
Yeah. Jessica, shocked, asks Anne if everything is all fine now. Well, it's clearly not. In the restroom, she says he's not going to change and asks if Anne is pregnant. Anne denies it. Well, everyone leaves upset. It's not a great dinner. And Anne flags down a cab. Patrick just about forces her into the cab, and they drive off, leaving Jessica and Ryan behind. The driver, Ian, immediately knows something is wrong, asks Anne if she wants to throw Patrick out. He's coming across as a good guy. He's very observant and on Anne's side. And, well, she says, no, that's okay. Well, Ian remembers picking Anne up at the maternity ward. She is pregnant already. And that kind of spills the beans a little bit. Patrick wasn't aware of this. Patrick is not happy with the news. Well, Anne thinks Patrick has been cheating with Jessica. Well, Anne tries to get out of the cab, but the doors are locked. Ian opens the door, tases Patrick into unconsciousness, and then zip ties his hands. That escalates quickly. He then ties her up, takes her phone, and pats her belly. Things have changed quickly.
Looks like a good place to stop.
Yeah. So it's an abduction kind of story.
Seems to be.
But they mashed in some ghost issues, too. Ghostly things.
Okay, well, this one is very moody and atmospheric, with all the rain and the London streets that everybody expects. Nick Frost is both likable and lunatic here, and he's clearly the star of the show. It starts out really good, but about the 45-minute mark, it really starts to drag. This drive-in just goes on and on and on. My opinion on this one is I think it kind of shows the weakness of telling a basic ghost story in a modern film.
Mm-hmm.
You read these stories and they see the ghost and they get scared and they move on. In a movie, though, that's not exciting enough anymore. The ghosts here ghosts in general, are always creepy, but they're also very limited as what they can do. They're dead people. You can see them. In this one, a dead woman appears and disappears a few times. There's just not that much scary about that. I think, as moviegoers, we're all a little bit beyond just very basic ghost stories at this point. I guess the real villain here is Ian, but we're not completely sure whether he's the monster or just one of the victims.
Yeah, how much is he being manipulated, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some question there.
Overall, I'd say it looks really good. It has a seriously creepy vibe about it, but overall, I thought it was just kind of dull.
Yeah, well put. Yeah, I thought it was too tame, kind of boring, yeah. And like I said, Nick Frost's performance really saved it for me. But I still wasn't entertained overall. I mean, a weak thumbs up.
It would have been good 15, 20 minutes shorter.
Maybe, yeah.
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 All right, well, next up we have 2024's Carved.
Thoroughly silly.
Which kind of sounds like it might be a Thanksgiving movie. Mm-hmm. Carve the turkey. But no, this is Carvin' Pumpkins.
Carvin' Pumpkins, yeah.
Directed by Justin Harding, written by him and Cheryl Meyer, stars Peyton Elizabeth Lee, Corey Fogelmanis, and Carla Jimenez. Hour, 35 minutes, and this is from Hulu.
A Hulu original.
Yeah.
And spoiler-free, well, this was a bit of a send-up of horror movies from the early 90s, kind of a retro vibe. It's set in 1993. It's not quite a spoof, but it plays off a lot of the tropes, and there is a lot of humor in it. We had some chuckles, but the body count and the horror elements are really heavy, too. It's really gory and horrifying in a lot of places. So it's a good mix of silly and horrifying. Overall, we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's very Halloween-y. It's a very much Halloween movie.
If you like to watch those 80s movies and 90s movies and laugh at them, that's what this is for. This is not a seriously scary movie.
And
they're
or anything. Doing it on purpose.
Yeah. Well, it's Halloween night in 1993. We see something with tentacles picking up a knife. It killed them! It killed them all! Says a man into his camcorder. He looks around in fear at the sight of a Halloween party and the corpses strewn all over the place. AJ is a reporter, and he grabs a knife to defend himself. We soon see what those tentacles can do as they tear him apart, and credits roll.
And we recently saw Mr. Crockett. That's
it's the same actor.
Guy. That's Mr. Crockett, yeah.
And although he just died in the opening scene, he does come back later because we go
Because
back to earlier that
Earlier
day.
that day, it's a flashback. Yeah.
We see that AJ is there to document the Halloween recovery in town through the Pumpkin Fest. He talks about the recent chemical spill that killed so many people in town. Kevin and Bill, two local officials, don't want to talk about the train derailment.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They're trying to move on, and he keeps coming back to the train derailment. It's like, no, let's talk about the Pumpkin Festival.
Be positive.
Yeah.
Well, we cut to Kira, who's producing a stage play for the Halloween Pumpkin Fest. She's got a crush on Cody, the star of the show. Trevor, her little brother, has a crush on Maddie the flute player. Elsewhere, Earl and Clint work on their corn truck, which is broken down. Clint goes out into the field to light up and do a really bad rap dance with a scarecrow in the field. He trips over a huge, rotten pumpkin. He cuts off a stalk and carries it in the corn wagon to the Pumpkin Fest.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, this pumpkin doesn't like being cut.
Yeah, we're going to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to stop there, but it's a killer pumpkin movie. That's not really a spoiler if you've seen the poster.
It's a monster. Yep.
Well, there are lots of familiar faces here, if not big stars. A lot of people you're going to recognize, probably.
Yep, mid-level, yeah. Not superstars, but lots of recognizable faces, yeah.
The monster is entirely CGI, but it's pretty well done overall.
I thought so. The effects were decent.
Yeah. It's sort of a parody of cheesy early 90s monster movies, and it's very effective at that, poking fun of everything from no one having a cell phone to people being oblivious to closeted gays. Oh, they were a couple?
Oh,
Who
what?
knew?
Who knew that?
The low-key humor definitely seems aimed at the younger crowd, but there were a few laughs from us, too. The plot basically consists of getting from one point to another for various MacGuffins. First they need the keys, then they need a radio, then they gotta find a flute, and all kinds of stuff. Usually, each side trip loses one or two of the characters. It's very formulaic, maybe a little too stretched out, but overall I think we both liked it.
Yeah, it's one of those where there's a monster and a group of people, and they're getting picked off, and who's going to survive at the end? Well, gotta watch it to find out.
I think we all know who's going to survive at the end as soon as the characters are introduced.
Sometimes you can tell.
Sometimes
it's a little obvious, but I enjoyed that one. Thought it was fun.
And then we come to Curse of the Sin Eater. Directed by Justin Denton, written by Adam Davis and Will Corona Pilgrim, stars Carter Shimp, Elizabeth Laidlaw, and Marcelo Wright. Hour and 30 minutes. And I don't remember who's got this one. Is this, Just Watch.
Well, spoilery free.
Yeah.
A guy wins the lottery by becoming the heir of a billionaire who wants to give it all to him, which sounds like a dream till he finds out that there are strings attached.
And it's on Tubi.
Okay.
So anybody can watch this right now.
Yeah. We both thought it was quite good. It has a good cast, a decent story, realistic effects, and we would recommend it.
This is my favorite of the week.
Mine too, I was just going to say that. Yeah. Definitely favorite of the week.
I've not heard anything about this from anybody. It just sort of came up in a list, and we decided let's go with that. And
I thought
I think it was
cool. Yeah. Well, a young man, he's doing the best he can with what he's got to work with. Makes dinner on a tray for his mother with a side of medications. She looks kind of crazy. Well, especially with that gun in her hand. And then she apologizes and shoots herself in the head, right in front of him. 3 years later, Rick Malone gets up. He lives in poverty and walks and takes the train many miles to a huge mansion. And it puts him late for work because it took him so long to get there. Supervisor almost fires him. Well, he saves the job. Rick gets right to work doing landscape stuff until he injures himself. Nothing serious, just a cut on his hand. And he asks one of the creepy, is it on his hand or his side? I don't know. Anyway, a cut. Yeah. He asks one of the kind of creepy servants for assistance, and she's reluctant at first, and then invites him inside for first aid. And he cleans himself up, tries to find the way outside, and pockets some money instead that he sees
finds a
laying
big
around.
stack of like hundreds of dollars, and he pulls
Clips.
one $20 bill off and pockets it.
Yeah. Well, Rick is spotted by a sickly old man who wants to talk. The servant lady wants to fire Rick and call the police. She is ticked off, but the boss calms her down, says it's okay. And the old man ends up giving him a wad of bills, tells him to get back to work. Later, Rick and his work friend talk about what they would do with $1 billion. Well, the next day, the servant woman comes out and wants to talk to Rick. Old Mr. Drayton says he has no heirs and not much time left. So he offers, if you will eat a meal off my dead body, I'll give you everything. What? Which is kind of a weird way to hand it off, but he's completely serious. And Rick thinks it over, thinks he has no option but to agree.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
At this point, why not? There's no catch involved. He doesn't.
It's weird.
It's weird, yeah.
And it turns out that's
Turns out there are catches.
Yeah, but that's literally how it works out. The old guy does die, and he's called, and the old guy's laying out, and he has to literally eat a meal off his body. But, millions of dollars, billions of dollars, would you do it? Well, Rick, before the old guy kicks it, Rick goes to see his ex, Tanya, at a party that Jeremy is having at his apartment. And Rick is just using one of the rooms at Jeremy's place. Well, there's a fight, and Jeremy throws Rick across the room and threatens to kick him out. Well, he calls everyone he knows for a job, but he's got no offers. Jeremy offers to let him sell drugs, but Rick doesn't want to do that. Until there's a knock at the door, and a man gives Rick an invitation to Drayton's house this evening, and he's even brought a suit for Rick. Driver doesn't know how old Drayton died, but he did. And the servant woman, she's there with a whole contract, and it's just what he was promised. There's a condition there. He cannot tell anyone about the deal. And she's like head of household. I mean, like the butler, basically.
Yeah, she's the boss.
Yeah, she's the boss of the household. Well, the servants bring in the meal. It's a plate of toast, followed by some gooey cake and slimy eggs and various gourmet dishes, and it just keeps coming and coming and coming.
And there's no reason, later on we find out all the rules of this, there's no reason it had to be so complicated and gross looking.
No, yeah.
They couldn't give him a cheeseburger.
And the rules say he has to eat every crumb.
Every crumb.
That, like, he mostly finishes a plate, and they scrape off the leftovers into this dish
off the dead man's chest,
and that's how he has to finish, is like this dish of leftovers from all the plates. But he does get through it, which kind of nauseous at the end. And at the end, he's given a card to recite. For your peace, I shall take on all your sins and pawn my own soul. Well, he feels really sick and passes out.
And what could go wrong after that?
Yeah, he's rich. Rich, rich, rich. Happy ending, right? Well, there's strings attached.
Yeah, there was strings.
Yeah, Antoinette, the servant woman.
No, that's enough. That's enough.
Well, that's her name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's a key player in this. Yeah.
Well, okay, I guess the real question here with this movie, the whole thing is, would you do it?
Well, and that's
with the
thing.
information that he's given, anybody would do it.
Yeah, definitely. With the information that he finds out afterwards, a lot of people would hesitate.
Even if you had full disclosure, some people would probably still go for it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sin eaters are a long-established tradition among some cultures, but it rarely works quite like this. Rick could have, he could have done some things afterwards to have made his life a little easier. It's a bit predictable, but it was very good.
Yeah, I thought it was all around well made. Cast of not super experienced people. I especially liked Carter Shimp in the lead role.
Yeah, I think this was maybe his first movie or something like that. He's not done
early.
much.
Yeah. And Elizabeth Laidlaw is the head of household. She gets stranger as you learn more about her. Yeah. I liked her.
Which takes us to 2024's Dating Horror Stories. Or maybe this is 2025. I don't know. It's not out yet. So you can't see this one just yet.
All right.
But it'll be coming out soon, and they wanted us to take a quick look and give our opinion. It's written and directed by Josh Nelson. Stars Jeff Clark Jr., Julia Wierzik, and Noel Capuzzo. Hour and 24 minutes. There's not even a trailer available yet.
Huh.
But keep your eye out for this one. I'm sure it'll probably be on the usual video-on-demand places. Probably Tubi would be my guess, but it's too soon to say.
Pretty cool poster for it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an anthology.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler-free.
Well, it has a little bit of a slow start, but it's fine once it gets going. Very low budget. But the stories are creative and the acting is decent, and we liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as indie works go, it's a mighty good one.
Well, we go to a place where three women talk about how bad dating is. They hate everything about dating. They've each heard some crazy dating stories. They look around at other couples and mock them one by one. Yes, it's an anthology of 3 short tales. We see some of the people in the place with these women, and Michael the Magician is on a first date with a girl at a place where he performs. He's going to be the entertainment later. Another couple talk about the guy being a competitive eater. And a third couple talks about her 6-year-old, who's really a dog.
What?
Well, she wants to go home, have sex, and then he can sleep on the couch because only the dog sleeps with her.
Oh, my.
Well, the competitive eater gets interrupted by his manager, and the manager doesn't like the new girlfriend. The dog lady phones home to talk to the dog and ignores her date. And then we get into the 3 stories. We've got one about Michael the Magnificent, the magician. We've got one about the competitive eater. And we've got one about the dog lady.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into the stories because that'd be spoilery.
It would be spoilery, but they're all decent. Yeah, they're pretty original. It's decent writing here.
If you want good advice, stay away from mystic baristas.
Yes.
If they were so wise, they wouldn't be baristas. Well, the competitive cannibalism story was hilarious and well done. The dog story was good as well. The magician story was kind of predictable and not so interesting. It's unfortunate that was the first of the stories because we almost dropped out as that one progressed. But we stuck with it, and it picked up quite a bit with the next 2 segments.
I liked the magician more than you did, I think. Yeah, you could see where it was going, but I still enjoyed it.
So obvious.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
Well, it's clearly shot, the dialogue is good, and the stories are paced well. None of these are slow, none of these are, sometimes with anthologies, they drag them out. Not this time, it was all very well paced. At times, especially I think in the first story, the music was a little bit overbearing, but only in a few scenes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's pretty good once it gets going.
Yeah, and the second 2 stories were definitely better than the first, but I'm glad we stuck with it. And I would recommend you stick with it if you are inclined to watch it. Don't be discouraged by the first story.
Okay.
Yeah. Overall,
and again,
I'd give it a thumbs up.
This is coming out sometime later.
Yeah.
The Funhouse, 1981, which came out a long time ago.
1981? It's like 43 years ago now.
Directed by Tobe Hooper, written by Lawrence J. Block, stars Elizabeth Berridge, Sean Carson, and Jeannie Austin. 40 years ago, and they never worked again, I guess.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah.
Hour and 36 minutes. There's a trailer in the show notes.
None of them became superstars, but there's recognizable faces where they did other things.
All right. Well, spoiler-free?
Spoiler-free? Well, Tobe Hooper made a career out of directing mostly horror and science fiction films, some of which are classics, like The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist. And this one is a little above the middle, maybe. It's an early slasher film that wasn't quite typical, and still isn't. It's got a slow start, but it's entertaining once it gets going.
We watched this about 3 or 4 weeks ago. This was sitting on because we've been doing all the new movies for October. We didn't cover the old ones. Mm-hmm. When this came up this week, I had to read the synopsis because I'd completely forgotten what it was about.
Oh, okay.
It's very forgettable, I thought. Well, we open on a kid's bedroom, and it's full of horror memorabilia. There's a man in gloves, and he pulls out a slasher knife and a Halloween mask off a display. He heads into the bathroom where a girl is showering. It's just Joey trying to scare his sister Amy. She vows revenge. Amy's father warns her not to go to the carnival, as they found 2 girls' bodies there last year. Boyfriend Buzz shows up and picks up friends Liz and Richie. They all smoke pot except for Amy, because she's the good girl. Well, we know how this is going to end, don't we?
A little bit formulaic, maybe.
Meanwhile, young Joey sneaks out of his bedroom and goes to the carnival on his own.
So all 5 of them are going to be at the carnival.
Amy and Liz encounter a crazy old woman in the restroom.
Harbinger!
God is watching you, she shrieks. Then they see a 2-headed cow and a deformed baby. This carnival's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Next, they go to see a magician who does an impaling trick with Liz. Then they go in and see the fortune teller. A tall, dark stranger will enter and change your life, she tells Amy.
And that turns out to be true.
It always does.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Joey wanders around on his own, eventually going into the Funhouse. The 4 teens peek into the back of the Girls, Girls, Girls show. I've never been to a carnival with a porn show.
No, I haven't either.
Now, is that just a movie thing?
I don't know, or something they just used to do. I mean, they didn't in the 80s. I went to carnivals in the 80s.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they never. They had freak shows and various horror things and all these other things, but
I don't remember ever seeing an actual freak show in the 80s.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, but never a girlish.
You're Michigan. They
Yeah.
did weird things here.
Yeah, no, I never saw a carnival with a girly show. Yeah.
Things start winding down for the evening, and Richie suggests they hide out and spend the night in the funhouse. Some kids did it last year, and he makes it into a dare that they can't refuse. Well, they ride the cars inside, but they don't come back out again.
Yeah, they get out.
Before long, the power goes out as the carnival shuts down. Joey sees them go in and not come out, so he waits a while, and he hides too. Well, the 4 teens stay after closing and see the fortune teller talking to the guy in the Frankenstein costume. He pays her, and she undresses. The group watches as she pleasures him. Oops, I've lost my place.
He never takes the mask off while they do it.
Yeah. He finishes too soon and wants a refund, which she refuses. It's not her fault. He does it so fast.
Yeah, that's the stance she takes. Well, he doesn't like that.
He kills her and messes up the electrical wiring in the place by accident. The group tries to find a way out of the funhouse, but it's dark and the doors are locked. All right. Well, anyway, Frankenstein tries to cover up his crime and things get out of hand.
And the Barker is in on it with him.
Yeah. Okay, so when this is done, we always want to know, why are movie fun houses so large?
Oh, this was gigantic inside.
Oh, it's huge.
It's like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside. Yeah, it's like 3 stories. And, in reality...
It's a mobile carnival. They
like,
have to fit on the back of a semi-trailer.
Yeah, they have to be able to fold it up and haul it away, but this is just gigantic inside.
How many floors does it have? At one point, they hid in the attic, and later somebody hid in the basement.
Yeah, I think there's 3 floors to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And besides being gigantic, yeah.
Well, Steven Spielberg asked Tobe Hooper to direct E.T. the Extraterrestrial, but he turned it down because he was busy with this movie. Oops.
Well, on the other hand, maybe E.T. wouldn't have been what it is, if he had.
Yeah, at least this was good enough to get him the job of directing Poltergeist the next year.
Yeah, and that was a hit. It's
not the typical slasher film. It's just sort of a situation that gets out of hand. Unfortunately, the first hour is really slow-moving and pretty dull. That's the great sin of horror movies, is being boring.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it.
It's got a slow start. Yeah.
It picks up toward the end, but it's not great.
Mm-hmm. Now, one touch that I really liked, Kevin Conway is in it. And he's a recognizable face from other things, too. He plays 3 different weird Barkers in it. He plays 3 different characters, and they're all
Everybody who works here looks alike.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I thought the practical effects hold up pretty well. It's not a great film, but it's entertaining.
All right.
If you want to check out a decent early 80s horror movie, I'd recommend this one.
All right, now we switch channels over to the shorts area. We're going to watch some short films. We're going to lead off this bunch with Stinky Girls.
Well, this one was something else.
Directed by Adam White, written by Kelsey Sullivan, Jackie Romanko, and Michelle Moriarty. And it's 8 minutes long. And you watch this one on YouTube right now.
And you should.
And we watched this sometime during the week, and it's already come up a couple of times in conversation. What were we watching yesterday?
Oh, I don't remember. Something where we said, oh, they're stinky girls.
Yeah, it's situation, and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 2 girls are having a sleepover. They compare gross things that they both done.
Oh, it was Dark Shadows. Victoria.
Oh, yeah, they're both standing there in their nightgowns, sitting in the bed, talking to each other, and you're like, oh, they're going to be all stinky girls.
They're going to be stinky girls.
No.
Because they're having a slumber party. Yeah.
One girl talks about a big mess that she made. The other girl then talks about throwing up. But instead of going to the toilet, she hides puke in the corners of the house like a dog.
Yeah, and
she can find them and get surprised.
And up to that point, it starts out normal enough. It's just a couple of 2 really good friends.
A truth or dare
exchanging,
kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of a truth or dare. Well, then it starts getting grosser and grosser and weirder.
Then they start talking about sticking themselves with pins. The stories get crazier and crazier, and these girls have some real problems.
Yeah, it's all fun and games till someone loses an organ.
Yeah. I suppose most girls' sleepovers are like this, but obviously I've never been invited to one.
Oh, I'm sure they're all just like this. Yeah.
Well, now I know what I missed out on.
Yep.
It's very well written and nicely shot. They're both having such a good time, no matter how twisted it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're lucky enough to find a soulmate. They are, in fact, stinky girls.
They belong together.
I want to say this is my favorite of the week, but there's another one coming later.
Okay. Yeah, the shorts were good this week.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Mostly.
And then we got Don't Feed the Cat, which was written and directed by J. Zachary Thurman, stars Ryan Lucy and Tara Brown. Runtime is just shy of 7 minutes. And again, it's on YouTube, where you can watch it right now.
What happens?
Well, Chloe, is it Chloe or... Yeah,
I think it's Chloe.
Yeah. She goes to her grandfather's house to pack his clothes. And we piece it together from her talking to her mother on the phone. He's got Alzheimer's and is staying at the hospital now. She's just there to get a few things to tide him over. Well, the house is a disgusting mess. And he left her a short list of chores to do, like water the plants. Well, number 3 on the list is don't feed the cat. Speaking of cat... Yeah.
I hear one.
Yeah. Except her grandfather doesn't own a cat, does he? Well, she hears one.
She hears the cat. There must be one somewhere.
Yeah. We both thought the film was just a little bit too dark. But still, the story is good.
Better lighting would have helped.
Yeah, it's really well edited. There's only the one character and her mother on the phone. She does a really fine job. And the ending works really well. I liked that, yeah. And I was left wondering what the real story is here when it was all over. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Which takes us to our third story called Ohio. Written by Alexander the Titan. All one word is some sort of probably a Twitter tag or something.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Denley Chavez. Stars Emma Laird, Peyton Grufik, Daria Soldatova, that rolls off the tongue, and Kyle Christensen. 8 minutes. It's also on YouTube. Well, 2 girls walk through a parking lot in Ohio and begin to talk about the serial killer who's been stalking the area and stabbing people with a screwdriver. One girl knows all about it, but the other is clueless. Now that I've told you about this serial killer with a screwdriver, I'm going to leave you in this dark parking lot all alone.
Yeah, good luck. See ya. Yeah.
They split up, and the girl who hadn't heard finishes walking through the dark parking lot alone. Stan calls on the phone. He's on his way to pick her up, but he's late, and she's frustrated. But then a strange man stops his car next to her. He's very strange. What could go wrong? Well, okay, he asks her sign, and she tells him, and things escalate.
Mm-hmm. She's a Virgo.
We all hate Virgos, don't we? Well, it's all filmed outdoors at night, and everything is completely visible, which is very good.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I was expecting more of a twist. Everything here is exactly what it looks like. Not quite clear on what makes this Ohio and not any other random parking lot. Apparently there's an Ohio Man meme or trope or something.
And I think they were cashing in on that a little bit. But, yeah, they were just, well, it's got to be somewhere. Let's make it Ohio.
All right, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't quite get the Ohio business.
It's well made, but we both were left wanting a little more. Yeah.
We're just not up on the current memes, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next one is called Oddities from 2023, written and directed by Tyler D. Savage, stars Ariella Bearer, Logan Miller, and Adrienne Barbeau.
I have to call this one my favorite short of the week.
Yeah, I do too.
This is so well made, it's like a mini movie.
Yeah, it is. Little 14 and a half minutes, and it is also on YouTube, and we recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
Well, a young couple decides to steal an antique mirror from a curiosity shop. The old woman who runs the place seems pretty oblivious to what's going on, and the mirror is way in the back, out of sight of everyone. So he sneaks into the back while she stays up front to distract the shopkeeper, which seems easy enough, right? This is going to be an easy crime, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This feels a lot like an episode from a Creepshow movie.
Yeah.
This would have been perfect there.
Yeah.
Well, Adrienne Barbeau here proves the saying, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And she's quite good as the villainous shopkeeper here.
Mm-hmm.
The young couple have some problems, drug addiction being one of them, but they're completely believable as mildly inept robbers. The special effects toward the end are really well done. Didn't really know where this was going when it started. Hard to expect. Didn't know what was happening. But yeah, like you said, it was like a miniature movie. It's got a full story, everything you need to know, beginning, middle, and end, and it looks really good.
Yeah, it did.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's all.
that's all.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to watch more movies for next week.
We go downstairs and watch more movie now, right?
We could. It's a disadvantage of watching Saturday. We record and then we start right over. Mm-hmm. It's a never-ending grind. Oh, so many horror movies.
Brought to you. We suffer.
Yeah,
but
sometimes we suffer through them.
You're all worth it. We do it for you, our dear listeners.
Well, anyway, I'm in the process right now of collecting a whole bunch of more Christmas horror movies.
All right.
We did it 3 years ago. We can do it again.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
I think for the rest of November, we're just going to watch a mix of old and new and see where that goes.
Christmas is only second to Halloween as far as horror movies.
There's a lot of Christmas horror movies.
Many Christmas horror movies.
You know, we did 31 Days of Christmas back in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
That was issue 22 of Horror Bulletin. If you want to go back and pick that up and read all about the Christmas movies,
We're going to do.
And I said
more.
there are not enough to do another year of that.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is.
Between
some of the ones this time are going to be a little more obscure and hard to find, but they're out there.
But they've made plenty more since then too.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week with some more stuff. I'm Brian,
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.